You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If Naruto Enters My Life as a Teenage Robot? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. In the town of Tremorton, it was a normal Saturday for the people in this town. While the other kids and teens were doing their own thing, a teen boy was in his home's backyard in the big workshed tinkering with something at his workbench. This teen boy had spiky blonde hair and had some whisker marks on his face. He was also wearing what looked like custom-made work goggles which allowed him to magnify his vision and be more accurate when he was doing more delicate work. This teen boy was Naruto Uzumaki, age 16, occupation, high school student/inventor/gearhead. He was also wearing what looked like an orange shirt with the number 09 on the front, brown cargo pants along with a tool belt, and metal worker's gloves. Okay, one more twist and this should be done, Naruto said as he twisted his screwdriver on his new gadget, but as he turned he heard a crash outside, making his jump and turn his screwdriver more than he should and break his gadget. Naruto looked at the destroyed gadget of his and frowned before he scowled and took off his goggles, showing he had blue eyes, before he went outside of his work's heat. As he entered his backyard he looked around for what caused the crashing sound, and soon he spotted something next door at the neighbors. He saw two little kids in the front yard of the neighbor's yard looking at what looked like a busted window. One of the kids was a male with short black hair. This was Tuck Carbuncle, age 8, a friend of the second child who was Naruto's little sister. Said sister was slightly taller than Tuck and had short red hair that reached her neck and blue eyes. She was wearing what looked like a black t-shirt with an alien on the front with the words "Believe" on it and what looked like a overcoat to complete her outfit. She also had some binoculars hanging around her neck. This was Himawari Uzumaki, age 8, occupation, elementary school student/paranormal investigator. Freeze, you two! Naruto yelled as he approached the two kids, making Tuck jump in surprise. Ah! I mean, hello Naruto. How's the mad scientist thing going? Tuck asked with a nervous smile as he attempted to hide his baseball bat behind his back, trying in vain to hide his involvement in breaking the neighbor's window. Real smooth, Himawari said with a flat tone at this. Which of you broke the window? Naruto asked firmly as he looked at the two kids. Wasn't me, I was in my tree house watching Miss Wakeman's when I heard the crash, Himawari said as she pointed at the nearby tree house, which indeed had a tree house in it. Oh, for crying out loud, you're still on that? Naruto asked as he pinched his nose and sighed. I'm telling you, a flying figure keeps flying out of there and I'm gonna get proof. Himawari yelled as she held up her phone determinedly. While she did this, Tuck was taking the chance to sneak away from Naruto, but as he did this he bumped into something, and when he looked behind him he saw what looked like another teen boy. This one had short red hair and had some stylish clothes on. This was Brad, his older brother, age 16. Nice try, Tuck. Let me guess, you and Himawari broke Miss Wakeman's window? Brad asked before he looked at Naruto to confirm this, who nodded at him. Oi! I just said I didn't do anything. Himawari yelled as she stomped her foot in annoyance. Spying on the neighbors doesn't make you innocent, sqr, oof. Brad was saying before Himawari slugged him in the gut, causing him to fall to his knees holding his stomach. And you take a punch like a beach. Himawari yelled at Brad, getting a laugh from Tuck before Naruto poked her in the forehead. Brad, why don't you handle your sibling while I handle mine? I'm better equipped, Naruto said with a chuckle at Brad. Right, I keep forgetting your little sister is nuts like your godmother, Brad said as he shuddered as he thought about his friend's godmother, who the two siblings lived with since their parents died years ago. Okay, you two, since you broke the window you both need to go in and apologize to Miss Wakeman, Naruto said firmly to the two younger kids. "Aw man," Tuck said with a frown. "I said I wasn't involved. Why should I?" Himawari asked with an annoyed look on her face. "'Cause you tried to give Tuck a chance to escape by distracting your bro," Brad said with a knowing look at Himawari. "Exactly," Naruto said as he nodded at this. "You just made my prank list, pretty boy," Himawari grumbled as she and Tuck walked towards Miss Wakeman's house. "Haha, very funny," Brad said with a scoff at this. "She's not kidding, dude, wear a helmet," Naruto said as he sighed at this. Before Brad could say anything to this, they both heard Tuck yelling from inside Miss Wakeman's. "Cool." Himawari was heard yelling from inside. "Would you move?" Tuck yelled as suddenly him and Himawari burst out of the front door of the house and ran into Naruto and Brad, knocking them all to the ground. "Dang it, Tuck, what the heck is wrong with you?" Brad yelled as he got up and dusted himself off while adjusting his hair. "We saw a monster. It was horrible." Tuck yelled as he hugged Brad's legs. "It was handing you your ball before you screamed like a punk," Himawari said with a flat tone of voice as Naruto helped her up to her feet. "Guys, it was dark in there, it probably Miss Wakeman who spooked you," Naruto said as he shook his head at them. "Yeah, and while she's a bit of a recluse and creepy, she's not a monster," Brad said with a chuckle. "Ahem," a female voice said behind Brad, trying to get his attention. This caused him to jump in surprise, showing there was an older adult woman behind him with long white hair. She was wearing a tan outfit and big glasses. This was Miss Wakeman. "Ah. Sorry, Miss Wakeman," Brad said with a nervous chuckle as he rubbed the back of his head. "And you call me a wuss?" Tuck whispered to Himawari as they both snickered at Brad yelling like a girl in surprise when Miss Wakeman surprised him. "Sorry miss about your window, Miss Wakeman, we sent them in to apologize to you, but apparently they saw something that scared them," Naruto said as he stepped forward. Miss Wakeman looked at Naruto with a calculating look before she sighed. "Just make sure it doesn't happen again and tell your sister to stop spying on my house," she said as she entered her house and slammed her door shut. Himawari scoffed at this. "Better people than you have tried to hide the truth from me, lady," she grumbled under her breath. "Okay Tuck, let's get you home," Brad said firmly as he pushed his little brother towards their home. "What about my baseball and the monster?" Tuck asked with an annoyed tone of voice. "You lost your baseball because of your own mistake and there is no monster now, get moving," Brad said as he pushed Tuck towards their home, getting a groan of annoyance from Tuck. "Okay sis, let's head home," Naruto said as he looked at his little sister. "No way, that lady is definitely hiding something, maybe not a monster but definitely someone weird," Himawari said with a firm tone as she looked at Miss Wakeman's house. "Look Himawari, I'm tired and not in the mood to hear your conspiracy." "Baloney so dash," Naruto was saying before he was cut off. "Oh really?" Himawari asked as she held up her phone, which had an image of what looked like a shadowy image of a humanoid who was holding out their arm to the camera, holding out Tuck's ball, and what stood out the most was that the arm, while human, was covered in glowing blue high-tech lines. Naruto's eyes widened at this before he looked back at Miss Wakeman's house, and as he looked at the house he spotted a shadowy figure looking at him from the top window of the house before it was gone as quickly as it was there. "Believe me now?" Himawari asked with a flat tone as she put away her phone. Inside Ms. Wakeman's house. Inside the top room of the house it seemed to be empty as Miss Wakeman entered the room. "XJ9, she yelled as she entered the room and looked around the room with an annoyed look on her face, seeing that to be empty. "Don't think you can hide from me, young lady, you know you ain't forbidden from interacting with the outside world. You may look human enough but you don't look perfect," Miss Wakeman said as she looked around as she approached a wall poster on the wall and removed it, showing there was a hidden compartment behind it, and inside this compartment was what looked like a teen girl. This teen girl had blue hair which was stylized into twin pigtails with braids that looked like bolts. She was wearing a blue top and a blue skirt along with some leggings and shoes. She also had blue eyes. But what really stood out was that she had high-tech lines on her elbow and knee joints and her finger joints and her wrists. "Jenny," the girl said with an annoyed tone at Miss Wakeman. "What?" Miss Wakeman asked with a raised eyebrow. "I said call me Jenny. I told you I want a real name since I am technically part human, mom." Jenny said as she waved her arms annoyed at how clueless her mom was. You may be part human young lady but I still created you to protect the earth now get going there is a meteor coming, Miss Wakeman said as she pointed at a monitor in the room which showed what looked like a meteor on its way to earth. Ugh those things always burn up on re-entry and by the time I get there I'm not even needed, Jenny said with an annoyed tone of voice. Better safe than sorry missy now Miss Wakeman was saying before she was cut off. I don't ever get to do anything a regular teen gets to do. I want to go outside, make friends, go to school. What's the point of saving the earth if I can't even enjoy it? Jenny asked before she sat down on her bed and frowned. Miss Wakeman sighed at this before she sat down next to Jenny. Honey I know it's tough you're at a rough age look we can discuss this later after you take care of that meteor XJ9, she said with a smile as she got up and walked out of the room. Jenny groaned at this as she laid down on her bed. I said my name's Jenny, she grumbled to herself. Hey Jenny. Himawari said with a smile as she poked her head through Jenny's open window. Ah! Intruder! Jenny yelped as she jumped to her feet in surprise before she raised her palm and what looked like living metal appeared and formed out of her wrists making what looked like a mallet. Okay not that that isn't cool but I'm 8 years old not really a good look for a superhero to threaten a kid, Himawari said with a smile at Jenny. Oh sorry you surprised me, Jenny said as the mallet disappeared back into her wrist after turning back into living metal. No problem hey big bro. I found the monster. Himawari yelled out the window and moments later Naruto made his way in through the window. DMN it sis I told you not to go in before me Naruto was saying before he paused as he spotted Jenny causing his eyes to slightly widen. Jenny's eyes widened in surprise as she saw Naruto as while she had seen him and Himawari sometimes when they were outside in their yard she had never seen him so close before. Yup it's a cyborg girl that's a superhero your dream GI Himawari was saying before Naruto quickly covered her mouth. Hush ahem hey I'm Naruto and the little gremlin here is my little sister Himawari, Naruto quickly said to his sister before he cleared his throat and looked at Jenny deciding to be polite. Himawari's response to this was to kick her big brother in the back of his leg. Gah! You little! Naruto was saying as he held his leg and tried to stay quiet seeing as he knew Miss Wakeman wouldn't like knowing they were here. Jenny giggled at this finding this funny before her eyes widened in realization oh man. If my mom finds out you're here she's gonna lose it. You need to get out of here. She yelled as she quickly started to push the teen and child towards her window. You want to hang out with us? Naruto asked curiously as he smiled at Jenny not bothered by the fact she was easily pushing him around. Oh you work fast Chan will love this, Himawari said with a snicker at this. Hang out? Jenny asked surprised at this before she looked at Naruto. You want to hang out with me? She asked curiously. Sure you look like you could use some friends, Naruto said with a smile. Yeah I mean Miss W shouldn't keep you on lockdown all the time you should enjoy Earth if you're saving it all the time, Himawari said with a shrug. Jenny paused at this as this was what she thought too she then heard the monitor going off in her room which she looked at. Problem? Naruto asked curiously. Nah those meteors always burn up on re-entry let's go. Jenny yelled happily as she followed both Naruto and Himawari out the window. Outside. Naruto and Himawari both climbed down to the ground Naruto helping his little sister down. I'm not helpless you know, Himawari grumbled as Naruto put her down. I know, hey Jenny you need help down Naruto was saying as he looked up at Jenny but his eyes widened as he saw Jenny floating down towards them before she landed down on the grass. Like I said Cyborg, like the metal lines didn't make it obvious, Himawari said with a roll of her eyes at her brother's surprise. I'm gonna assume some kind of anti-gravity system that lets her fly, Naruto said as he watched Jenny rub the grass with a smile on her face. Wow so this is what grass feels like, Jenny said happily. So you can feel things? Naruto asked curiously. Of course I can do everything a regular human can, Jenny said as she stood up. Wouldn't that mean you can feel pain which wouldn't help you with your superhero thing? Himawari asked curiously. My mom gave me all kinds of systems that gives me endurance to pain and immunity to all kinds of environments, Jenny said as she waved her hand dismissively. Wow, so she's not a quack, oi. Himawari was saying before Naruto flicked her in the ear. Watch it SQR, Naruto said with a firm tone of voice. So what do regular teens actually do? Jenny asked curiously. Well, I was gonna hang out with Brad at the mall so Naruto was saying before he was cut off. The mall? An actual real mall with other teens? Jenny asked excitedly as she grabbed Naruto by his hands. Why yeah, it's a real mall, Naruto said with a nervous tone as he tried to fight down his blush of embarrassment at Jenny being so close. Let's go. Jenny yelled as she dragged Naruto off. Have fun bro, I'll tell Bachan you're busy with a new friend, Himawari said with a snicker as she waved at Naruto as he was dragged off by the cyborg girl. Later at the mall. Jenny dragged Naruto towards the mall with an excited smile on her face as she looked at the front of the mall and all the people outside of the mall. Wow, you are excited to just be a regular teen, aren't you? Naruto asked. Curiously seeing Jenny's excitement. Of course. I have wanted this all my life, so let's go. Jenny yelled happily as she continued to drag Naruto towards the mall. Okay, calm down a bit Jenny, the mall isn't closing anytime soon, so let me find my friend Brad first and we can both show you around, Naruto said as he tried in vain to get out of Jenny's iron grip. That's the redhead teen you were talking with earlier today after your sister's friend broke mom's window, right? Jenny asked curiously as she looked around at the crowd while her eyes scanned the crowd for Brad. Yeah, that's him, wait, you watch us? Naruto asked curiously. There he is. Jenny yelled loudly, pointing at the crowd, ignoring Naruto's question while also getting everyone's attention. Hey, she's new to the mall, Naruto said with a nervous chuckle to some teens who walked past him before he spotted Brad approaching him, who waved at him in greeting. Hey Naruto, what kept you? Your sis try convincing you Bigfoot lives in the forest? Brad asked with a smile at his friend before he spotted Jenny. Oh. You made a new friend? He asked curiously. Yup, this is Jenny Wakeman, the so-called monster Tuck was freaking out about, Naruto said with a chuckle while Jenny waved at Brad, showing the cyborg lines on her arms and wrists. Brad's eyes widened at seeing this, but he composed himself pretty quickly as he had seen some of Naruto's homemade gadgets, so this wasn't that big a leap for him. Wait, Miss W actually has a kid? He asked, finding this hard to believe. My mother cloned me from her own DNA and made me into a cyborg before I left my growth tube when I was 4, Jenny said nonchalantly, not finding this odd at all. Naruto and Brad looked at Jenny with shock at this information. Anyway, this is Jenny's first time actually out in the world that doesn't involve saving it, so I figured me and you could show her around the mall, Naruto said to Brad, deciding to change the subject. Wait, Miss W made her to protect the world. So she's like Android 18? Brad asked, his eyes widening at this information. Naruto groaned at this and pinched his nose. Technically I'm a cyborg and my label is XJ9 not 18, Jenny said, looking confused at this. He's making a reference to someone fictional, Jenny, Naruto said as he gave Brad a look. Yeah, sorry if I insulted ya, Brad said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. It's fine now, can we look at the mall? I want to look at everything I can before my mom busts me, Jenny said as she bounced on her feet a bit, feeling impatient. Sure, follow us Jenny, Brad said with a smile at the teen girl as he led the way towards the entrance. Jenny smiled at this as she followed Brad, still dragging Naruto behind her by his hand. Geez, you got a grip on you, don't you? Naruto asked as he chuckled. Of course I do, I am strong enough to shatter mountains. Oh. Is that a clothes store? Jenny said matter-of-factly before she spotted a store and flew off towards the store, letting Naruto go. Finally, I almost lost my hand, Naruto said as he flexed his hand a bit, thankfully seeing it wasn't hurt. Hey, at least it's a cute cyborg girl who was holding your hand, Brad said with a chuckle at his friend. You do know I can have Himawari prank you by bribing her with a box of cupcakes, right? Naruto asked with a firm tone of voice. Retracted, Brad said as he shuddered at this threat, as Himawari's pranks were legendary to everyone who were on the receiving end of them. Naruto nodded at this before they both followed after Jenny, who was already flying off to look at another store. Later. After a few hours of showing Jenny around the mall, the three teens were now sitting at the food court where they were now sharing a pizza. Jenny looked at her slice of pizza curiously at this before she looked at Naruto as he folded his slice and took a bite. She then did the same as him and took a bite before her eyes widened in surprise before she smiled brightly. "Pizza tastes great," she said happily before she started to eat her pizza happily. "Have you ever had pizza before?" Brad asked curiously. "Mom usually just makes healthy meals that are the most efficient in keeping an eat in tip-top shape," Jenny said after she finished her slice of pizza. "While I can understand that I couldn't live without having some fun food on occasion," Naruto said as he shook his head at this. "Yeah, you say that after your BA-chan put you on a diet and limited you to one bowl of ramen a day," Brad said with a chuckle at his friend. "BA-chan? That's Japanese for grandma, right?" Jenny asked Naruto, who was pouting at this reminder from Brad. "Yeah, me and my sister live with her, she's our godmother, but we call her BA-chan," Naruto explained. "What happened to your parents?" Jenny asked curiously. Naruto paused at this while Brad frowned. Is this a bad subject?" Jenny asked, seeing Naruto and Brad's reaction, hoping she didn't upset them. No, it's fine. They died in a plane crash around 7 years ago," Naruto said with a sigh while Brad patted him on the back. Jenny frowned at this, but before she could say anything some beeping was heard and what looked like a holographic image of a alert appeared in front of her, which looked to be displayed out of her eyes like a projector. "Warning, meteor approaching Earth," a robotic voice said from the alert. Brad paled at this while Naruto looked at Jenny, who looked annoyed. "Oh please, these things always burn up in the atmosphere," Jenny said with a scoff. "Warning, will not burn up in the atmosphere," her alert added at this before the hologram disappeared. "Sounds like you better get moving," Naruto said to Jenny. "Yeah, better safe than the town ending up a crater," Brad said with a nervous chuckle, hoping Jenny would go. All right, Jenny said with a sigh before she looked up at the sky before she suddenly shot off, flying into the air, smashing through the sunroof. "Wow," Naruto said with a smile at this display from the cyborg girl. "You have got it so bad, dude," Brad said with a chuckle at his friend before he ducked, avoiding a thrown wrench from Naruto. With Jenny. Jenny was soaring through space, approaching the massive asteroid. Jenny's eyes began to shine blue. Her cyber joints began to glow as several nanomachines began to seep out, covering her arms. Forming around her hand, she created a magnified beam rifle, energy channeled through the screen as she fired off a beam straight through the asteroid, shattering it to pieces, flying through the skies. Jenny covered her eyes until the light faded. When she lowered her arms, she was surrounded by falling meteorites, one knocking her off balance. Jenny narrowed her eyes as she followed after them, her nanomachines forming a propeller blade around her hand, which she used to cleave through the meteors like she was mowing the lawn. She reared back her leg as a drill formed around her leg. She threw several kicks, shattering the meteors to pieces as they came at her. She held up her hands, forming a mace in her right hand and axe in the left. She swung her limbs, slicing and smashing them with great force. Jenny held out her hands, firing off beam streams, each one hitting a meteor dead on. Jenny smiled at the clear space, but soon noticed one last meteor crashing down to Earth. She sped down after it and she grabbed it. She reared and grit her teeth as she used all her strength to halt the descent of the meteor as it started to burn through the atmosphere. With Naruto and Brad. Naruto and Brad were walking towards their neighborhood and passed as they spotted Himawari and Tuck talking to Miss Wakeman, who looked very annoyed while Himawari looked bored. "Great," Naruto muttered as he and Brad quickly walked over, seeing that an argument was going on. "I told you I don't know where your prisoner is, now walk away, hag, me and my assistant are busy," Himawari said with a bored tone of voice while Tuck hid behind her. "She's not my prisoner, she's my daughter, you little brat." Ms. Wakeman yelled at Himawari as her face turned red from her anger. "Oh really? Didn't look like it to me," Himawari said with an edge in her tone. Himawari enough, what's going on? Naruto asked as he approached with Brad close behind him. Jenny's warden is here, Himawari said with a bored tone as she looked at her brother while Tuck snickered. You little dash, Wakeman was saying before she was cut off as what looked like a meteor crashed into the yard next to them. When the dust cleared, everyone saw Jenny covered in soot on top of the now smaller meteor with a determined look on her face as she stepped off the meteor. Cool. She's like a cyborg superhero. Tuck yelled as he ran over to Jenny to talk to her. Wow, Naruto said, his eyes widening at seeing this display of power from Jenny. Your mouth is hanging open, bro, Himawari said with a chuckle along with Brad. XJ9. Miss Wakeman yelled as she walked over to Jenny, getting her attention. This might get bad, Brad muttered to Naruto, who frowned at this. Oh, hey mom, Jenny said with a nervous smile as she rubbed the back of her head as her mom looked at her. You better have a good explanation for why you were out of your room not taking care of that meteor and gallivanting outside, young lady, Miss Wakeman said as she gave her daughter a look of disapproval. Miss Wakeman, with all due respect, she did take care of the meteor, Naruto said as he stepped forward, getting the older woman's attention. Young man, I told her to take care of the meteor and come home, Wakeman said. Not a prisoner, right? Himawari said with a scoff at this. I'm getting sick of your attitude, young lady, Miss Wakeman yelled at Himawari, reaching her wit's end. Miss Wakeman, with all due respect, what's the point of her protecting the earth if she can't enjoy it? Naruto asked as he stepped forward to get her attention. Miss Wakeman paused at this as this was the second time this was brought up and she couldn't deny it was a good point. Miss Wakeman, doesn't make more sense for Jenny to have a normal life while also protecting the earth? Brad asked as he decided to back Naruto up. Miss Wakeman looked at Naruto and Brad and frowned at this. Even if I wanted to let her have a normal life, do you really think everyone will accept her? She's a cyborg capable of untold destruction and people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it, Mr. Uzumaki, she said with a firm tone as she looked at Naruto. Naruto sighed at this before he shook his head. Look, I'm not gonna say everyone is gonna accept her, but that's not exclusive to just her. Everyone deals with that. It's fine to worry about her, but keeping her locked up is just gonna make her resent you. Besides, those that matter won't care. She's a cyborg, he said firmly as he looked at Miss Wakeman. Brad nodded at this while Jenny's eyes widening at his words before she nodded in agreement. Yeah, Jenny is cool. Tuck yelled with a smile at this. Way to simplify it, Tuck, Himawari said with a sigh, but she nodded at this. Miss Wakeman looked at Naruto for a few moments. Stubborn, just like you, my old student, she thought as she sighed and shook her head. Very well, she said as she looked at them. Jenny's eyes widened at this before she smiled. Does this mean I can go to school and be a regular girl? She asked hopefully. You can go to school and hang out with your friends as long as you still do your missions and help Earth like normal, Miss Wakeman said with a firm tone. Jenny nodded at this before she smiled at her new friends happily. Hey, can you take me for a fly, Jenny? Tuck asked excitedly as he pulled on Jenny's skirt, getting her attention. Jenny smiled at this before she nodded and picked Tuck up and put on her shoulders before she took off flying into the air. Hey! I get the next ride. Himawari yelled after them while Tuck was heard laughing happily as Jenny flew him around and Brad shook his head at this. Miss Wakeman watched this and slightly smiled, seeing her daughter be happy. Don't worry, I'll help her while she gets used to the outside world, Naruto said to her, getting her attention before he walked over to talk to Brad and Himawari. Miss Wakeman watched Naruto at this before she chuckled. Well, she could do worse for a friend than your son Kushina, my old student, she thought to herself as she thought about the past. Later that night. It was about night time and Himawari was on the rooftop of her house with a radio scanner trying to see if she could get some signal from space. She passed as she finally started to hear something coming through the scanner. All hail the Irken Empire, a crowd of voices were heard coming from the scanner. Himawari's eyes widened at this as she adjusted the scanner to see if she heard this right. After a few moments of static it finally cleared and she heard. Doom 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 doomy doomy doom. A high-pitched voice coming from the scanner was heard singing. Himawari blinked at this as she didn't expect to hear this after what she heard before. Sis, get off the roof and get to bed. You don't want Ba-chan to be the one to tell you next. Naruto yelled out, making Himawari jump in surprise and turning of her scanner. Himawari grumbled at this before she looked up at the star-filled night sky, knowing something was out there and coming to Earth. With Naruto. Naruto was inside his makeshift workshop tinkering with something at his workbench when he heard a knock on the door of the shed. It's open, Naruto said as he tried to focus on his work. The door opened and Jenny poked her head in to take a look inside before she smiled at seeing Naruto. She then walked into the workshop and approached him and looked over his shoulder, curious at what he was tinkering with. What you working on? She asked, getting his attention. Naruto looked up from his device and put it down, showing it was what looked like some kind of metal orb. Just a makeshift smoke bomb I'm working on, he said as he put it down and pulled off his goggles and looked at Jenny. You like to build things? Jenny asked curiously as she looked at the smoke bomb curiously, her scanners telling her it was indeed what Naruto said it was. Oh sure, I get it from my mom, apparently she used to build all kinds of stuff too, Naruto said with a smile. She did? Jenny asked as she was curious about Naruto's mom. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid she used to be working on stuff all the time in here, but always came out when I called for her, Naruto said with a smile as he thought about his mom. Jenny smiled at this before she spotted a picture on the wall nearby. It was of what looked like a woman with long red hair wearing what looked like a tool belt like Naruto, and what looked like a little boy with blonde hair hugging her leg and smiling. Is that her? She asked curiously as she looked at the picture. Yup, that's her and me as a kid, and before you ask, my dad was the one taking the picture, Naruto said as he put away the smile bomb in a drawer before turning to look at Jenny. Now what brings you here? He asked. Oh well, I wanted to tell you that my mom got me into Tremerton High School and I start tomorrow, Jenny said with an excited smile on her face at the idea of finally living like a regular girl. Naruto nodded at this and smiled at how excited Jenny seemed to be. Well, me and Brad will be there to help you when you start, so be sure to tell your mom that, he said. Thanks. So what's your plan for today? Jenny asked as she nodded at Naruto in gratitude. I know there was something I had to do today, give me a moment and I'll remember, Naruto said as he rubbed his head. Jenny nodded at this and went back to looking at the picture of Naruto's mom, and as she looked her scanner started to beep and alert her to an instability in the wall the picture was hanging on. But before she could question this, Naruto Uzumaki. Get out of that shed and get out here. You are supposed to take your sister to the carnival. A woman's voice bellowed out, getting the two teens' attention and making them jump. Yes, so stop sucking face with Jenny. Himawari was heard yelling before she was heard laughing, while the two teens blushed at this. Who is Jenny? The woman's voice yelled at this, clearly annoyed. Naruto quickly ran out of the shed with Jenny close behind. You are lucky I can't build a robot sister to replace you, Naruto said with a glare at Himawari, who was smirking as she looked at her brother's embarrassed blush. Jenny looked at the woman with Himawari and saw she was an older woman with long blonde hair. She had what looked like a green diamond on her forehead. She was wearing a doctor's coat and on her name tag was the name T. Senju MD. This was Tsunade, Naruto and Himawari's godmother. Hey Ba-chan, Naruto said with a nervous smile as he waved at the woman. Don't Ba-chan me, brat. Who is this girl and what's with the electrical lines? She a cosplayer or something? Tsunade asked as she looked at Jenny with a critical eye. Himawari snorted at this and stiffened her laughter at this as her brother groaned and pinched his nose. Hello, I'm Jenny Wakeman and I'm a cyborg, not a cosplayer, Jenny said, deciding to introduce herself. Tsunade raised an eyebrow at this as she looked at Jenny. Didn't know Nora had a kid. I thought she was more interested in science than dating, or did she clone you herself? She asked, deciding to get to the point. Nora? Naruto asked curiously, raising his eyebrow at this. Miss Wakeman, you gearhead, Himawari said with a scoff. I think so, that's what I assume at least, Jenny said nervously as she started to feel nervous as Tsunade looked at her with her calculating eyes. That sounds like her. Well anyway brat, you know I told you to take Himawari to the carnival today seeing as it's the last day it's open, Tsunade said as she turned to look at Naruto with a firm look showing she wouldn't accept excuses. Right, sorry ba-chan, me and Brad plan on taking both her and Tuck later, Naruto said nodding at this. Good, I have work at the hospital so here for dinner, be sure to have fun, Tsunade said as she handed Naruto some money before she walked away. Later. Himawari said with a smile at her godmother as she waved goodbye. Your godmother is very intimidating, Jenny said with a sigh of relief that meeting Tsunade went okay. You should see her when she goes off, Himawari said with a smile at Jenny. Yeah, that's ba-chan, oi. Naruto was saying before he ducked avoiding a thrown trash can. I said not to ba-chan me, you brat. Tsunade bellowed at Naruto before she got into her car and drove off. Not like I'm lying, Naruto grumbled under his breath. Wait, so she's actually a granny? Jenny asked as she knew ba-chan meant granny. Yeah, ba-chan looks pretty good for 60 though, don't mention her age if you want to avoid having things thrown at you, Himawari said with a chuckle at Jenny's look of surprise. Wow, I hope I look that good when in that age, Jenny said out loud to herself. Anyway, let's get going, Hima, we need to meet Brad and Tuck. You want to come with us to the carnival, Jenny? Naruto asked as he looked at his friend. A carnival? Jenny asked curiously as she had never heard of this. It has rides, food, games with prizes, everyone goes every year, Naruto said with a smile as he saw Jenny start to get excited. And this year I'm gonna finally beat some of those rigged games, Himawari grumbled to herself as she gained a determined look on her face. Jenny smiled in excitement at this, but before she could say anything she was cut off by. XJ9, we have more to go over for your first day of school tomorrow. Nora was heard yelling as she came out of her house eeling towards them. Oh come on mom, I'm as prepared as I can be. I want to go to the carnival with Naruto and the others. Jenny whined as she looked at her mom. You only get one education and there will be other carnivals, Nora said with a shake of her head. Not really, this is the last day before it closes for the year, Himawari said, deciding to try and help. Jenny started to whine at this while Nora looked at Himawari with an annoyed look. Miss Wakeman, my sister may be a annoying gremlin but she has a point, besides I'm sure Jenny will do fine at school seeing as me and Brad will be there to help her, Naruto said, deciding to try and help. Yeah, hey. I got you gremlin right here you dash, Himawari was saying before Naruto covered her mouth with his hand. Nora said as she looked at Naruto and thought about his argument. Come on, you never let me do what I want to do. Jenny yelled as her nanobots started to come out of her joints thanks to her emotional state. Don't raise your nanobots to me, young lady. As for you young man, fine, she can go but her safety is your responsibility, Nora said as she gave Naruto a pricing glare. Will you relax? It's a carnival, not the middle school science fair, Naruto said as he tried to put Nora at ease. I said that wasn't my fault. I had no idea those tortillas would explode like that, Himawari grumbled under her breath. And that's why I cook, let's go SQR, Naruto said as he pushed his little sister away from Nora, Jenny close behind them. Nora watched the teens leave and sighed as she went back inside her house. If Kushina's boy can keep his sister in line, maybe I have nothing to worry about. She thought as she went to her lab to get some work done. With Naruto, Jenny and Himawari walked towards Rehab Carnival grounds, which was full of people enjoying the rides, games and attractions. Wow, look at all the stuff there is to do, Jenny said with a smile as she looked around excitedly before she started to fly around to take a look at everything. Naruto smiled as he watched Jenny fly around the carnival excitedly. Quit being a sap and give me my game money, Himawari said with a flat tone as she looked at her brother and held out her hand to him. Yeah, don't cause a scene at any of the attractions, I'm not bailing you out like last year, Naruto said as he gave her some money. Hey, that game was rigged and you know it, Himawari said with a growl at the memory. Yelling shenanigans and trying to hit the guy running the game with a broom is not the right response, Naruto said with a sigh at the memory of what happened last year. I'll keep that in mind, Himawari said as she walked away from her brother towards where the carnival games were. Naruto shook his head at this before he spotted Brad and Tuck nearby and smiled as he waved and approached them. Hey Brad, hey Tuck, what's up? He asked as he high-fived his fellow teen. Not much, just enjoying the carnival though. Tuck is trying to muster up the courage to finally ride the Ferris wheel, Brad said with a smile as he pointed at Tuck, who was looking at said ride with a scared look on his face. He's still afraid of giant wheels? Naruto asked with a chuckle as he looked at the younger child. They can crush people, so don't judge me. Tuck yelled at this, clearly annoyed with the teasing grins both Naruto and Brad were giving him. Where's your sister? Is she terrorizing the carnival games again like last year? Brad asked Naruto, deciding to change the subject. No, I told her to behave this time, Naruto said, shaking his head at this. Since when has that stopped her? Brad asked with a raised eyebrow. Before Naruto could respond, he was cut off as they all heard what sounded like someone yelling. I hit it right on target and it didn't move. Shenanigans. Shenanigans. Himawari was heard yelling, making several people pause and look at a game booth where Himawari was yelling at a man while holding a broomstick who was using what looked like a trash can lid as a shield just in case she took a swing at him. Several of the carnival goers took out their phones ready to record this as it was well known this was gonna get ugly, knowing the youngest Uzumaki. Himawari, freeze. Naruto yelled as he quickly ran over and grabbed the broomstick put of his sister's hand. Screw that. He didn't learn his lesson after last year. This time I'm gonna stick that broom where the sun don't shine. Himawari yelled as she tried to reach for the broom from Naruto, but he kept her at bay with his free hand. Like I told you last year, you little psychopath, you don't know over the target, you don't get a prize, now get lost, the man said as he kept his shield up. Himawari growled at this as her eyebrow twitched violently at this insult while Naruto continued to keep her at bay. Not that I'm one to tell you how to do your job, but name calling. Bad idea with this 1-inch, Naruto said as he turned his head to look at the carnival worker. Naruto, look at this, they actually sell fried elephant ears, Jenny yelled as she flew over carrying what looked like a whole bunch of different snacks in her arms. It's just fried dough with sugar, Jenny, Brad said as he shook his head at this as he smiled while Jenny took a bite of said treat. After swallowing said treat, she looked at Naruto, who was still trying to keep his sister from attacking the carnival worker. What's going on? Is this a carnival game? She asked curiously. Yeah, it's called avoiding a lawsuit, Naruto said as he threw the broomstick to Brad, who caught it. This game is rigged. I hit the bottles and they didn't move at all. Himawari yelled as she stomped her foot in frustration. Maybe your arm strength stinks, Brad said as he waved his hand dismissively. Himawari growled at this before she glared at Brad. Back. Back. Brad yelled as he pointed the broom at Himawari to keep her away from him. And you call me a wuss, Tuck said with a sarcastic tone as he looked at his brother. Jenny looked at the game, and when she looked at the tower of bottles that players were supposed to knock over, her scanners picked up that they were glued together and glued to the ground. She then glared lightly at this and looked at the man running the game. What? You want to start something to like the psycho? The man asked. Jenny clenched her fists at this before she thought of something and smiled before she took out some money. I'll take a ball, she said as she slammed the money on the counter. Everyone was surprised at this while the man smirked as he took the money. Jenny took the ball and spun her arm around, and with a hard swing she tossed the ball, smashing through the bottles, the force of the slipstream breaking them to pieces. The man, shaking, looked over behind him to see a massive chunk of his booth was destroyed. Knocked over. Jenny yelled happily. Naruto shook his head at this but chuckled as he should have expected this result from Jenny, seeing as she could destroy meteors easily. Oh god, ah. The man stuttered, blue in the face and white eyes trembling as he turned to smiling Jenny. Himawari, which stuffed animal you want? Jenny asked with a smile as she gave the man a knowing look. I want the stuffed tanuki, Himawari said as she pointed at said stuffed animal. Jenny nodded at this and took said stuffed animal and handed it to her before she looked at the man. You should use better glue next time if you're gonna try that with me, she said before she walked away. It's so fluffy. Himawari yelled happily. You do realize that's gonna end up online now, right? Brad asked Jenny as he pointed out several people with their phones out while they all walked away. That's bad. Jenny asked curiously as she didn't see the problem. Well, it will get students at school talking, Naruto said as he knew that everyone at school would most likely know about this by tomorrow. Great. I want to make a great first impression tomorrow, Jenny said as she smiled at this. Okay, now that we avoided another day in court with one of Himawari's victims, let's get something to eat and then try out some rides, Naruto said to the group as he rubbed his sister's head in a teasing way. Don't mess the hair up, I like to look cool when I'm hunting the unknown, Himawari said as she swatted her hand at Naruto. Everyone laughed at this as they continued to enjoy the carnival. Later. Everyone was walking home as the sun was setting. Brad and Tuck were walking towards their home and Naruto was walking Jenny home while Himawari was making her way to her treehouse. Mom, we're home. Jenny yelled as she walked into her home while Naruto carried some of her won prizes behind her. Nora looked up from her world bench and looked at them and blinked in surprise at all the stuffed animals Naruto was carrying. I see you had fun, she said with a chuckle. Yeah, I think she broke all their game booths, Naruto said with a chuckle of his own as he dropped the stuffed animals on the floor. Hey, they were all cheaters, it was either that or your sister and the broomstick, Jenny said as she crossed her arms with a huff. Fair enough, thanks for helping keep my sister out of juvenile hall, Naruto said after a few moments of thought. No problem, citizen, it's all in a day's work, Jenny said with a smile at this. Naruto and Jenny laughed at this whole. Nora shook her head at the two teens. Well, I better get going, I need to make sure Hima gets to bed, she has school tomorrow, Naruto said as he started to walk towards the door. Hold on, young man, I have something for you, Nora said as she picked up a small box and handed it out to Naruto. Oh. What is it? Naruto asked as he took the box. As you probably know, your mother was a friend of mine and that's something she left with me before she died. I figured since you're helping XJ9 get used to the outside world now, I should give it to you as a token of my gratitude, Nora said firmly. Naruto's eyes widened at this before he opened the box and saw that inside the box was what looked like a glove with what looked like buttons and high-tech display on it. I remember her wearing this, he said as he looked at the glove and reminisced a bit. Yes, I believe you are an aspiring inventor and tinkerer like her, so I have no problem passing that on to you, Nora said with a nod at Naruto. Why is it only one glove? Jenny asked curiously as she tilted her head in confusion. I have no idea, Nora said after a few moments of silence. It's fine, I'll gladly use it even if I have no idea what it's for, Naruto said with a smile as he put the lid back on the box and nodded at Nora in gratitude before he left the house. Jenny waved at Naruto as he left before she looked at her mother. Thanks for that, Mom, she said as she knew that meant a lot to Naruto. It was nothing, just me passing on something for a friend, Nora said as she went back to her workbench. Jenny smiled at this before she hugged Nora, surprising her before she went upstairs to her room. Nora blinked in surprise at this before she chuckled and went back to her work. Unknown to her, across the street an alien spaceship was parking in the vacant lot, and moments later a tall and creepy-looking house grew out of the ground and what looked like lawn gnomes appeared in the new front yard. The next day, Naruto was waiting outside of the high school waiting for Jenny so he could show her around the school. Seeing as it was her first day, he was wearing his mom's glove on his right hand. Soon he saw Nora's car driving towards the school and parking in front of the school. Are you sure you don't want to wait a few days, months or years to mentally prepare yourself? If you're nervous you just need to say XJ9", Nora said as she looked at Jenny with a worried tone. Jenny ignored her mother as she looked at the school and saw all the teens approaching the school and smiled excited that she was finally going to school with other teens. XJ9", Nora said a little louder this time, hoping to get Jenny's attention. Mom, I'll be fine. I deal with space battles and aliens and Earth-made monsters regularly. How hard can high school be? Jenny asked as she grabbed her backpack and got ready to leave the car. Nora shook her head at this, making a note to not throw these words back in her face later. Very well, good luck XJ9, I'll be home when you get home and I'll contact you in an emergency. And the school knows to excuse me. Yeah, I know, Jenny said as she got out of the car and walked away from it. Nora then rolled down the passenger window and honked the car horn, getting everyone's attention. Have a good day at school, sweetie, she yelled with a smile on her face before she drove off. All at the teens seeing this started to laugh at this while Jenny blushed in embarrassment while Naruto approached her. Well, at least you got the first embracing moment out of the way, can't get any worse, right? Naruto asked with a sheepish chuckle as he tried to comfort Jenny. Jenny groaned at this as Naruto led her into the school to show her around. With Himawari. Himawari and Tuck were sitting in their classroom with their fellow classmates while their teacher, a old and pale woman who had white hair and was hunched over and wearing a black dress, she was also wearing a pair of glasses. This was Miss Bitters. Standing next to her was what looked like a small child with green skin and wearing red outfit and had slicked back black hair. Class, I would like to introduce the newest, hopeless appendage to the student body. His name is Zim, Miss Bitters said as she looked at her students before she looked at Zim. Zim, if you have something to say it now, because after this moment I don't want to hear another sound out of you, Miss Bitters yelled at Zim before she slithered away to her desk. Normally Himawari would make a crack about how her teacher's earning her minimum wage, but she was looking at Zim with wide eyes as it was pretty obvious to her that Zim was an alien. She looked around at the class and saw that nobody was reacting to this, well, except for Tuck, whose mouth was hanging open as he pointed at Zim in shock. Zim stepped forward and smiled as he looked at everyone. Hello, friends, I am a perfectly normal human worm baby, you have nothing, absolutely nothing to fear from me, just pay no attention to me and we'll get along just fine, he said to everyone with a smile. Himawari looked around at everyone again, seeing that nobody was reacting to what Zim just said. They all just looked really bored like normal kids. The American school system strikes again, she thought with a sigh. Take your seat now, Zim, Miss Bitters said with a firm tone. Zim sat down in his seat as Tucker had wide eyes and Himawari was surprised. Okay, am I the only one who sees the alien sitting in class? Tucker asked, confusing most of the other students before pointing at Zim. Him. Right there. The alien. Tuck shouted out loudly. Everyone looked over at Zim, then back to Tuck. Oh, come on. It's obvious. Look at his hideous green head. Tuck shouted as he pointed at Zim. Insolent fool boy. Zim shouted before he quickly calmed himself. It's a skin condition, he said calmly. And he's got no ears. That part of your skin condition too, Zim? No ears? Tuck questioned. Yes. Zim said, lowering his head, causing Tuck to get glares from his classmates. Man, Tuck, you think just cause someone looks different you can call them an alien? A boy said. I guess Pig Boy and Old Kid are aliens too. Another boy said, pointing over at two students behind him, one a pig boy in green lederhosen, and a boy who resembled a man in his 50s. Hey, how you doing? Old Kid waved. You. Tuck paused before Himawari tugged on his shirt. Let it go, Tuck, let it go. Himawari said, realizing that most of the time with the human race most people fail to pay attention. Tuck grumbled at this before he sat down while Zim glared at Himawari and Tuck, seeing that they were both suspicious of him. Later with Naruto. It was now lunchtime at the high school and Naruto was walking outside the school carrying his lunch, looking for a table outside to eat his lunch since a lot of students like to eat outside. Hey Naruto. Brad yelled as he waved at Naruto from his table to get his attention. Hey Brad, you seen Jenny? Naruto asked as he approached the table. She's talking to the Crust Cousins, Brad said as he pointed at a nearby picnic table nearby. Naruto looked at said table where several popular kids were sitting and saw that Jenny was talking to two teen girls who were both wearing the latest fashion. One had dark skin and had slicked back black hair. What stuck out about her the most was that her front teeth were more noticeable. This was Brit Crust. The other girl had more lighter skin and was shorter than Brit and was wearing a pink beanie and had her hair in pigtails and metal braids. This was Tiff Crust. They actually letting her talk to them? Naruto asked as he sat down and reached into his lunch bag to get his food. They actually approached her surprisingly. Something about her having potential, Brad said as he shook his head. Great, just what Jenny needs to have her head full of nonsense and made as shallow and superficial a Barbie doll, Naruto said as he sighed. That's high school bud, Brad said as he patted his friend on the shoulder. What do you mean I shouldn't talk to Naruto anymore? Jenny asked loudly, getting everyone's attention. My dear Jenny, a girl with your potential shouldn't associate with riff-raff like Uzumaki, Brit said with a British accent. Yeah, that guy is a loser who just hangs out with other losers when he's not messing with some stupid gizmo like his mom, Tiff said with a chuckle, making Jenny clenched her fists at this. Brit laughed this and nodded. He will probably blow himself up like she did too, she said as she laughed along with Tiff. Enough. Jenny yelled before she punched a tree next to her hard, causing it to crack and fall over. This surprised all of the students, as while they had heard the rumors that Jenny was a cyborg, they hadn't seen her actually do anything to confirm this until now. Before Jenny could say anything, the leaves in the knocked-over tree shook and what looked like a green dog jumped out onto the grass and shook some leaves of itself. What the heck kind of dog is that? Brad asked curiously as he and Naruto looked at the dog. Meow. The dog yelled before it ran off on its front legs. Apparently very talented, Naruto said with a bewildered chuckle at this before he looked at Jenny. Hey Jenny, what's got you so mad? He asked. Jenny looked at Naruto and after a few moments calmed herself a bit. Nothing, these two offered to be my friends, but I don't think it's gonna work out. You want to eat lunch somewhere else? She asked as she looked away from the two cousins. Brit and Tiff's eyes widened at this flat-out rejection from Jenny, while the rest of the student body watching were all impressed the new kid actually stood up to them. Naruto smiled hearing this. Sure, there's space at mine and Brad's table, he said as he pointed at the seat across from him. Jenny nodded at this, but before she could move to take her seat. Miss Wakeman, a voice yelled out, getting her attention. Jenny looked and saw what looked like a short older man in a suit and had gray hair was approaching her, and he didn't look happy. Vice Principal Rosinski, what seems to be the problem? Brad asked curiously, deciding to try and help defuse the situation. The problem, Carbuncle, is that Miss Wakeman just destroyed a tree on school property. Miss Wakeman, I believe your mother told you that you were not to use your cyborg abilities while on school grounds unless there was an attack, Raninsky said as he glared at Jenny. Brit and Tiff smirked at seeing this, thinking it served Jenny right for rejecting their offer of friendship. Before Jenny could respond, a crashing sound was heard as a towering shadow appeared over them all. Everyone looked up and saw what looked like a giant red robot beetle, complete with giant pincers and wings on his back. All of the students looked at the giant robot towering over them and did the only thing they could think of doing. They all screamed and took off running, taking cover and trying to stay out of sight of the big robot. The robot looked around at this and scoffed, humans are such cockroaches. I feel sorry for XJ9, sorry she is wasting her time serving these worthless earthlings, sorry she is not ruling over this planet like the queen she deserves. The robot said. Do I know you? Jenny asked as she flew up to confront the robot. I am an ambassador from the planet Cluster Prime, a planet of robots and cyborgs like yourself. We wish to invite you to become one of us, join us, and we can help you become queen of this planet and rule over these humans as their queen, the robot said to Jenny with a kind smile. Wait, really? A robot of cyborgs just like me? Jenny asked, surprised at this, completely ignoring the part about taking over Earth. Jenny! Brad yelled from his hiding spot behind a nearby picnic table. Right, as cool as that sounds, I'm gonna have to refuse now, please leave, I don't wanna have to hurt you if I don't have to, Jenny said as she glared at the robot. The robot sighed at this before he shook his head. I'm afraid if you refuse I will have to bring you back to my queen by force, he said as raised he claw. Don't think I'll make it easy, you bucket of dash, Jenny was saying before she was backhanded by the robot, sending her flying into the school, destroying the wall. Don't think that you can defeat me XJ9. You may be impressive on this planet, but we cluster are of a different breed, the robot said as he approached the school. Before Jenny shot out of the school and slammed into the robot, sending him flying across the street before she flew after him, attacking him with what looked like a giant crab crackers made of her nanobots. The robot took another swing at Gemini, but she caught his claw in her crab crackers before she closed them tightly and cracked his claw before ripping it off her. Not so tough now, are you? Jenny asked with a smirk at the robot. You won't get lucky again XJ9, the robot yelled as he fired some blasts from his antenna, sending Jenny back a bit and making her yell in pain. This one looks like it's gonna be hard to take down even with one arm, Naruto said as he watched from behind his hiding place behind a picnic table with Brad. Don't worry, Jenny has this handled, it's what Miss W made her for, right? Brad asked as Jenny flew around the robot firing laser blasts from her hands. I know that, but I wish I could help her, Naruto said as he clenched his fists. I know that, dude, but how? Your gadgets aren't up to this level, Brad said as Jenny was slammed into the ground, pinned by the robot's claw. Naruto watched as the robot started to charge his antenna again to blast Jenny. If I had a blaster or something I could try and take those out, he thought to himself, cursing that he didn't have anything to help. As he thought this, his mom's glove on his right hand activated and the display lit up. Omni glove activated, DNA fingerprint accepted, access to weapons locker granted. It said with a female voice as the palm started to glow. Huh? Naruto asked as he looked at his hand as what looked like a high-tech orange blaster appeared in his hand. What the hell? Brad yelled, seeing Naruto suddenly holding a high-tech blaster. That's what I'm wondering too, Naruto said as he looked at the blaster. User asked for a weapon, provided you with a burst pistol. Is this not satisfactory? The female voice coming from the glove asked. Naruto looked at the burst pistol, then at the robot, and took aim and fired at the robot, hoping his aim was good. The blast hit the robot in one of his eyes, destroying it and making his shout as the blast from his antenna missed Jenny, causing him to loosen his grip on her, and she flew out of his claw and flew up at his face as her nanobots formed a giant spiked glove around her fist. Hi-ya! Jenny yelled as she slugged the robot in the chin, causing the robot's head to go flying off its neck and into space before the robot's body fell to the ground with a loud thud. Oh yeah, this will do, Naruto said with a smile as he twirled the burst pistol a bit before it disappeared just as Jenny landed in front of him. What the heck was that? I didn't know you could make weapons, Jenny asked as she looked at Naruto with a look of surprise. He can't, that glove gave him that space gun when he asked, Brad said as he approached them. The glove my mom gave you, that belonged to your mom? Jenny asked as she looked at said glove, which was still active. Yup, looks like my mom had some secrets. Hey glove, you can talk, right? Naruto asked the glove. I am not the glove, I am the AI known as Kit. I was built to assist my creator Kushina Uzumaki. Why are you able to use her Omni glove? The female voice said, intruding herself. You were created by my mom? Naruto asked with a smile as he looked at the glove, while Jenny and Brad looked at each other surprised at this revelation. Your mother, I see you are her son and the worst has happened. Very well, I will guide you to her lab and explain there. Please go to these coordinates, Kit said as what looked like a hologram of a digital map appeared over the face of Naruto's hand with a red dot blinking on it marking a location. Wait, we have some questions, Jenny said to the glove. Yeah, we are not just gonna go to some random place we don't know, Brad said with an annoyed look at the glove. Hey, if this means I'm gonna see my mom's lab, then I'm going, Naruto said with an excited smile. Well, it looks like school is out for the day, Brad said as the fire department and the police arrived. Okay, fine, where are we going? Jenny asked as she looked at the map on Naruto's glove. Naruto looked at the map for a moment before he chuckled. It's leading to my work shed, he said as he shook his head. Indeed, that was your mother's old shed where she hid the entrance to her lab, and now please hurry, we have much to discuss, Kit said calmly as the image of the map disappeared. Naruto nodded at this before he ran off, not needing to be told twice. Hey, wait for us, dude. Brad yelled as he and Jenny ran and flew after Naruto, not wanting to be left behind. With Himawari. Meanwhile with Himawari and Tuck it was after school and both kids were well. Get back here alien. Tuck yelled as he chased after Zim as he made his way towards his house. You shall never catch me you filthy earth maggot. Zim yelled as he ran into his house and slammed the door in Tuck's face causing him to slam his face into it. Nice job Tuck, not only did he get away but now everyone at school thinks we're bullies, Himawari said as she approached Tuck with an annoyed look on her face as Tuck pried himself of Zim's front door. We can't just let Zim run around doing what he wants. I know let's ask Jenny for help. Won't work, Himawari said as she shook her head. Why not? Tuck asked curiously. While aliens are known to exist every time they have shown up they always announce their presence, Himawari said as she sighed. There has never been a case of an alien actually infiltrating Earth? Tuck asked with wide eyes at this reveal. If there has it's been covered up so unless we can prove it we're on our own. Now let's get out of here Zim's lawn gnomes don't look friendly, Himawari said as she pointed at the lawn gnomes that were approaching them with glowing red eyes as they charged their lasers. Cheese it. Tuck yelled as he took off running along with Himawari while the gnomes opened fire on them as they fled Zim's front yard. Inside Zim's base. Inside Zim's secret lab deep under his house Zim shouted was not in his human disguise showing his antenna and his red eyes was sitting in his seat as he looked at his monitors showing not only Himawari and Tuck fleeing his yard but today's fight between Jenny and the cluster ambassador. Curses. The cluster has taken interest in this filthy planet. I refuse to yield it to them. It's mine to claim for the almighty tallest. Zim yelled as he looked at fight between Jenny and the cluster ambassador. Next to him was what looked like a little robot who had just taken off a green dog disguised. This was J.R. Zim's robot SLV, oh robot hero, he yelled as he watched Jenny punch the robot's head off. No jar. XJ9 is the enemy. Now what did you see out in the filthy human town today? I saw a squirrel. She had a midget minion with a pink hat and was acting like one of those mean girls that peak at age 16. JR yelled before he smiled with his tongue hanging out of his mouth. Zim looked at JR with a bewildered look on his face at this not sure how to respond to this. Naruto's workshed. Naruto Jenny and Brad walked into the workshed Naruto holding his Omni glove up so the map on its holographic display was seen by all of them. Are you sure you're reading that right? Brad asked as he looked around the shed clearly not impressed with what he saw as this was the first time he had been in Naruto's work shed. I know how to read a map, Naruto said as he looked at the map and saw they were at the exact spot marked on it. Indeed you are this shed is just a cover, Kit's voice said from inside the Omni glove as the wall where Naruto's picture of his mom suddenly opened up showing a hidden door surprising the three teens. That explains why my scanners were alerting me about that wall. I thought it was just poorly built, Jenny said as she Naruto and Brad looked at the doorway. It would seem I will need to upgrade my security if your scanners notice the entrance, now please enter, Kit said firmly. Naruto, Jenny, and Brad quickly entered through the doorway entering what looked like a big circular room which suddenly started to move downward after the door behind them slammed closed. How did I miss an elevator being here all these years? Naruto asked as he looked at the elevator taking note on how high-tech it was. Soon the elevator stopped and the doors opened up. The three teens walked out of the elevator into what looked like a massive room with what looked like a workbench with some tools on the wall nearby. Also in the room was what looked like a giant TV screen with what looked like a keyboard in front of it. Whoa! Naruto said as he looked at the workshop which pretty much blew what he used upstairs out of the water. Looks kinda reminds my mom's lab, Jenny said as she looked at what looked like several blueprints which were on the walls. I bet my games would look great on that screen, Brad said with a grin as he looked at the computer screen. Which suddenly turned on showing them an image of what looked like yellow robot head with what looked like two orange bulbs on top of its head. I do believe that would be MSTR Naruto's decision not yours, the image of a robot head said causing Brad to jump back in surprise. Kid, is that you? Naruto asked as he approached the computer as he recognized the AI's voice. Indeed, welcome to your mother's workshop, or should I say your workshop, Kit said as she smiled at Naruto. There's only a workbench though, not much of a workshop. Where's all the cool gear? Brad asked as he looked around after he calmed down. Suddenly the walls around them opened up, showing what looked like all kinds of gear and weapons hanging on displays with nameplates under each device. Is this to your satisfaction? Kit asked as her face on the computer screen smiled a bit at the teens' surprised faces. I'll say. Naruto said as he approached the wall of weapons to take a look. Naruto's mother made all of these? Jenny asked, surprised as her scanners scanned all the weapons and gadgets which were telling her they were legitimate. Indeed she did. I do believe she was Nora Wakeman's only student and partner back in the Skyway Patrol, Kit said as she displayed some pictures on her computer screen showing what looked like an image of Kushina and Miss Wakeman with what looked like uniforms fighting what looked like some giant robots. My mom was part of the Skyway Patrol? Naruto asked, surprised as he looked away from the wall of gadgets at the computer screen. My mom taught Naruto's mom? Jenny asked curiously as this was news to her. Oh. Nora had a child. Looks like Kushina lost that bet, Kit said as she chuckled a little as she reminisced a bit about her creator. The Skyway Patrol. Your mom was so cool, dude. Brad said as he patted Naruto on the back. Naruto smiled at this as he looked at the picture of his mom and Miss Wakeman for a bit before he composed himself. So Kit, is this all there is? He asked as he looked at the wall of weapons. No, there is also the garage, Kit said matter-of-factly before a wall nearby opened up showing another room behind it. This room showed what looked a big garage with what looked like several different types of vehicles parked along the wall. Oh wow! Naruto yelled as he ran into the garage to take a look, Jenny and Brad right behind him. Is that a spaceship? Brad yelled, an excited smile on his face as he spotted what looked like a space fighter. Hands in pockets, Mr. Carbuncle, you don't have a license unlike MSTR Naruto, Kit said firmly. Oh come on. How do you even know? Brad yelled out as he looked at Kit's display and annoyed at the AI. You just told me, Kit said simply with a slight smirk at the teen as he growled in frustration at her. Ha! I like you, Kit. My mom did a good job when she programmed you, Naruto said with a smile as he looked at Kit. Kit smiled at this as she looked at Naruto, seeing he had her creator's smile. I am happy to be of service to you, sir. Now would you like to go over a training regimen for your new gear and weapons? I do believe it would help you greatly with helping Miss XJ9 with her job protecting the planet, she said. She prefers Jenny, Naruto said before Jenny could correct her. My apologies, Miss Jenny. I'll make a note to refer to you as such from now on, Kit said as her image nodded at Jenny. No harm done, Kit, Jenny said as she nodded at the AI. As for training, we can start that tomorrow. It's getting late and my Bakon should have dinner ready for me and sis soon, Naruto said to Kit. Of course, I'll be here waiting when you're ready. I'll be getting the training room ready in the meantime, Kit said as she nodded. A training room too? What doesn't this place have? Brad asked as they approached the elevator. I do believe Miss Kushina wanted to add in a railgun to use on intruders but never got the time, Kit said with a smile as Brad paled slightly at this before Naruto and Jenny pushed him into the elevator before it closed behind them. The next day, Naruto ran into shop class just as the bell rang and sighed in relief he was just in time. Cutting it a little close, aren't you Uzumaki? The teacher asked. Sorry sir, Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly with his omni-glove hand. It's fine Uzumaki, the teacher said with a shake of his head before he went to talk to some other students who needed direction. Naruto nodded at this before he went to his table but paused as he saw some bugger students crowding around a smaller student. The smaller student was skinny and lanky with black hair. This was Sheldon, a fellow gearhead like Naruto, only more prone to being picked on. Come on guys, give it back. Ouch. Sheldon was saying as he tried in vain to take back what looked like a homemade action figure from one of the bullies before one of the other bullies behind him grabbed his underwear and gave him an atomic wedge, lifting him off the ground a little. Ha! I told you he was such a wuss. We could lift him off the ground with one pull. one of the bullies said as he laughed while he held Sheldon's action figure out of the teen's reach. Naruto scowled at this, and just as he thought he would like to smack some humility into that bully, what looked like a high-tech wrench appeared in his Omni glove. I do believe the Omni wrench is perfect not just for this class but for keeping brutes in line, Kit's voice said from the Omni glove. Naruto smiled at this before he approached the three bullies. Hey! What's going on around here? He asked, getting their attention. Oh hey Naruto, just hanging around, Sheldon said with a forced smile as he was still hanging by his underwear. Naruto ignored Sheldon's attempt to cover for his bullies and looked at the bully holding Sheldon up by his underwear with a hard look. Drop him, he said firmly. What are you gonna do if I dash? The bully was saying before Naruto held up his Omni wrench and put it up to the bully's face, silencing him. You want to find out how hard this can hit? I need a test subject for my mom's Omni wrench and I'm accepting volunteers, Naruto said as he held the Omni wrench inches from the bully's face. This caused the other two bullies to scowl and make moves to approach Naruto from behind before their arms were grabbed from behind and violently jerked before they were both put into SBMSN holds. These guys bothering you and your friend Naruto? Jenny asked as she held the other two bullies' wrists tightly so that if she moved the right way she would snap her wrists. I don't know, are they? Naruto asked with a pointed look at the bully still holding Sheldon up by his underwear while Sheldon looked at Naruto and Jenny with wide eyes. The bully quickly dropped Sheldon and held his hands up in surrender as he backed away from them. That's what I thought. As for you, my friend's action figure, or I'm gonna ask my friend Jenny to get physical with you, Naruto said as he turned to the bully who still had Sheldon's action figure. The bully quickly nodded and handed Sheldon his action figure with his free hand, not wanting to provoke Jenny, seeing as the whole school had seen or heard about her fight with the cluster ambassador yesterday. Jenny, you can let them go, Naruto said as he nodded at Jenny. I don't know, are you gonna pull this again? Jenny asked with a hard tone as she applied some pressure to the bully's wrists. No ma'am, the two bullies yelled out in a panic as they heard a crack in their wrists. Jenny nodded at this before she let them go. Screw you, ya cyborg beach, one of the bullies yelled as he turned around and slugged Jenny in the face. Which did nothing before a spark went off and zapped the bully. Yo wow. The bully yelled as he was sent flying from Jenny from the force of the charge, sending him into his fellow bully and sending them both into some fellow student's workbench. Miss Wakeman, what happened? The teacher called out as he approached them after seeing the two students get sent flying. Sorry sir, my static defense system activated, Jenny said as she rubbed the back of her head while she smiled sheepishly. Huh, the teacher asked, not understanding what Jenny. One of them slugged her and they got zapped, Naruto said, simplifying it for their teacher. Ah, they were bullying Lee again, eh? Walk it off, you three. You're lucky those two didn't leave marks, the teacher said as he approached the three students. You okay? Jenny asked as she looked at Sheldon, who was looking at her hair, eyes wide and his mouth agape. Sheldon said as he looked at Jenny, stunned, his face turning red. You're gonna catch flies, buddy, Naruto said as he chuckled at his friend. Is he okay? Jenny asked as she looked at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. I'm fine. I'm Sheldon. Sheldon yelled out as he smiled as he held out his hand to Jenny to shake. I'm Jenny. Are you a friend of Naruto's? Jenny asked curiously. Jenny, Sheldon said with a smile at the cyborg girl. Yeah, this is my fellow gearhead, sorry about him, he's not used to others actually standing up for him besides me, Naruto said with a chuckle at his friend. Oh, you should show him your new lab later, Jenny said with a nod of understanding. You got a new lab? Sheldon asked curiously, being distracted from Jenny thanks to this information. Oh yeah, apparently my mom's old lab was right under my work shed the whole time, and thanks to Jenny's mom it's now mine, Naruto said with a smile. You're kidding. Sheldon yelled out in surprise, his eyes going wide at this reveal. Lee, talk on your own time, get back to work, the teacher yelled as he finished dealing with the three bullies. Yes sir. Sheldon said before he quickly ran to his workbench. He's interesting, Jenny said as she and Naruto approached a free workbench. Yes, sorry about that. Sheldon is not used to talking to girls, most of them just pull a Brit and tiff, so one treating him decent is new for him, Naruto said as he took out his Omni wrench. Jenny frowned at this as she could understand why Sheldon wouldn't have much experience with girls if most of them were like Brit and Tiff. Anyway, are you up for helping me out? Naruto asked as he held up his Omni wrench. Jenny smiled at this before she nodded, more than happy to help. They two friends then got to work on today's class project. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.